This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
And welcome back, everybody. If you want to move your life forward in all different ways, professionally, personally, spiritually, all of the above, here comes the hard truth. It's your responsibility. You need to take responsibility for that, including soul growth. We're going to talk about that today and how you can take responsibility. And once you do, how you can move your life forward using many different modalities that she offers as a Galactic Shaman. She's a Reiki master, animal healer, sound healer, and much more. I've had sessions with her. OMG. Mind-blowing how it can clear out a lot of stuff that we hold on to. We're going to talk with her today. Our professional of the year, Shayna Blackmar, is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Going with the flow with these strong energies. So let's do it.
Yeah. We had the full moon yesterday. Wow. I actually, somebody told me, go outside and take a look at the moon. And I waited. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll get out there in a minute. And I went out and I didn't see anything. I don't know if it was low in the sky or a cloud cover, but I was looking around. I didn't see it. But since that's this moment, what does a full moon represent? And this particular one, I think it's called the pink moon. Is this one different, more impactful?
Well, remember, I'm not an astrologer, so
Sure.
Take this with a grain of salt. What came through when I was tuning in, and it was connected with the equinox this year was that it's clearing the past, clearing karma way more than in years past. And so like you and I were talking just a few minutes ago is it feels heavy right now because time is heavy, the past is heavy. So we're clearing, releasing everything that needs to go so that we can move forward, because it's literally holding you down, holding you back, that kind of thing.
I heard this recently, and I'm going to share it because it just ties into what we're going to talk about today. But this was the phrase mantra. And I want to make sure I get this clear. When you take responsibility for your life, you take back your power. And it almost sounds like that can't be, because you don't want to take responsibility for some things. You kind of sweep them under the rug. But when you do, it's still floating out there, pulling at you, gnawing at you, because it exists. It's an energy, right? So what are your thoughts on that? When you take responsibility for your life, and I mean everything, and things happen to us that, I didn't ask for that or anything, but you have a choice of how you react to it. Full responsibility, you take back your power. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. And we have to, in order to move forward, in order to grow. And, so I see so many people getting stuck. And it's because they've locked themselves into this mindset of either being a victim or wounded child or, whatever unconscious program is running that they have identified with, and it's running the show. The ego takes over because it's trying to compensate and all of these things. And I actually learned all about archetypes in a course that I took by Caroline Mice. She's wonderful. And she explained how in our soul star chakra, which is just above the crown, we hold up to 12 archetypes, like identities that we, and the qualities, the program of that identity is what we are running. But we can change those. We're not locked in. So, when we come in, we all have a child archetype. Depending on our experiences, that can shift to wounded child, right? As we grow, that changes to, ideally, to teenager, adult, mother, father, teacher, artist, creator, all of these different archetypes, right? And so I just see so many people holding on to victim archetype or wounded child archetype, and there's a new one, or fairly new, since what, like the 50s or 60s, that she explained in the course, called the magical child archetype. And that
Mm,
came about with Disney, where people in childhood have, watching these movies of princesses and princes, have kind of locked onto this idea that to be an adult, to be happy, equals no responsibility. And that's just not true. That basically locks you into being immature, to not
wa-
taking responsibility, right?
wow.
Yeah,
Um,
and just and then that affects all actions in the
you know, there's something big there in that, and we may minimize it and we might not see it. It's just a Disney movie. But if you look at the proven notion that what's around us as children, from birth to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, that pilots our subconscious as adults.
Mhm.
So you could be a child, somebody says something to you, you internalize that, and that holds you back later in life. Could be even your best friend. You're 5 years old. Your friend says something to you. Your friend says, "I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Goodbye," and they walk away. And that could set you up for fear of abandonment as an adult later in life. That said, that child watching these types of movies, nothing wrong with them, but you internalize it. Well, life is a fairy tale. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to take responsibility. That's the way it is. That's been programmed into your subconscious. I never thought about that. And
I
it's
know, it's amazing, right? And it's
right.
it's so prevalent over the past, what, 4 or 5 decades, how that sense of entitlement has just grown and grown and grown, and people not wanting to take responsibility for things, and
Wow.
and and there's no judgment, there's no criticism. It happened, right? The key is to see it, bring awareness to it, and make a different choice. I mean, it's kind of like, I had this thought at like 4 in the morning when I was awake this morning. It's like Spider-Man and Peter Parker. If you want to be an adult, you want to have freedom, you want to have the power of being an adult, that comes with great responsibility, and there's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with it. It's just a fact.
Spider-Man had a responsibility.
Exactly.
But
And so do you, so do I.
exactly. And we're not busting on Disney and fairy tales and anything like that.
Right.
It's the same thing that kids internalize going through life, where it's been said 0 to 7 shapes your adult life with what's in you, what you experience, what you internalize as a child. That's the setup for later in life. So again, Disney didn't even think about that. And now, as parents, guilty as charged, what do? We idolize. We embrace that. My daughter, yeah, let's go to the Bippity Bop makeover at Disney. Make you a princess. Let's do this. Yeah, the princess, love it, wonderful, it's so cute. All good. And it doesn't mean every child is going to internalize that. Life is a fairy tale, no responsibility. Not every child is going to do that, but some do have. It has to be, because you're being exposed to something as a child. Wow, never thought of that.
And again, like, there's nothing wrong with it. You just
No.
then need to make that conscious choice as you're growing up to take responsibility for your actions, your words, and it's vital for soul growth. If we're moving into 5D, we have to be responsible. We can't be some emotionally stunted, wounded child, magical child, and be mature, right? Those are whole two different worlds.
Mm.
You have to take responsibility, and it's actually a good thing, because then you get so much more freedom.
Well, like we said, you take back your power when you take responsibility. Easier
Yeah.
said than done. How do you do that? How do you take responsibility for your life so that you can experience soul growth? And we'll get to that in a moment. Um, how do you even know whether you need to take responsibility? Like somebody's listening, watching, like, well, I don't know. I think I'm responsible. How do you truly know that you are taking full responsibility for your life?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, things to help move through and clear past things are like forgiveness. Um, Compassion is when we move into the mature part out of
Mm,
maturity. So, and you can find compassion by watching the movie of your life, or expanding out, finding a wider lens, a bigger perspective. Helps understand more of what is going on, and then it's easier to send love to the other person. And another, zooming out even further, even bigger perspective is we're all here together to help each other on this journey. So your friend at 5 years old saying they didn't want to be friends and wounding you was helping you as an adult to take your power back by choosing to see that, oh, you know what? That was trying to get me to give my power away and be insecure, but I know that I'm safe. I know that I am worthy, and to use that as a soul growth opportunity. So, um, as far as if you know you're being responsible or not,
mm,
that's interesting. What I'm hearing is feeling. If you're coming from the heart, you're coming from love versus coming from fear, because that's where the wounded child, the magical child, the victim is coming from. That's their motivation is fear. So if you're
well,
coming,
let's look at that for a second. Would it be safe to say that if your life it feels off, that maybe you haven't taken responsibility for everything? And to better help you take responsibility, you should clear out the stuff from your past energetically, which is what you did, which is what you did for me. So I'm thinking if you life is feeling off, like it's either out of control for you, or you're not in a peaceful, calm situation and state, things rattle you very easily. You probably haven't taken full responsibility, and you don't see it because it's that stuff from the past: forgiveness, gratefulness, on and on and on. I don't know. I'm thinking top of my head. What do you think?
yeah, it's coming through is the heart always knows, even if we're not consciously aware of it. And so, the feeling will tell you if it's off or if it feels good, if it feels peaceful versus feeling anxious, um, that kind of thing. And we have to come back into the heart, and that's the compassionate heart. That's the mature heart. Is is being in the heart, is the feeling of love and acceptance and compassion for all, including yourself, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Learning a lot today, for sure. Um, let's say you've gotten to that point, you've done some work on yourself, and you realize, all right, I am taking responsibility. That last relationship ended. I played a part in it. Maybe I wasn't all of the issues, but it takes two. Let's say other relationships, you realize it. Um, maybe your financial situation, you're starting to see some connection there where, you know, I haven't taken responsibility for things. Um, you're at that point where now you've realized this. How do you move forward with growing yourself emotionally, spiritually, your soul, all of that? What comes next?
I think it's just having the courage to look at the truth of yourself, of your actions. Um, without courage, you can't move forward. And it's not that there isn't necessarily nervousness, because you would be stepping into the unknown, but if you're taking, if you're taking your power back, if your intentions are to step up, to be mature, to be responsible, to grow, to evolve, then while you may stumble, you're not going to go wrong, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And it's all part of learning too, and being curious and being courageous and asking if there was a situation that maybe didn't feel quite right. Again, look at different perspectives. Ask yourself, could I have done something differently? What would it have been like if the other person had treated me that way? Um, See all different perspectives with neutrality as much as possible so that you can really see the truth of your actions. And then, okay, do I need to make amends? Do I need to apologize? And if it doesn't feel like it's that big, something big and where you actually need to make amends, then okay, how do I do something differently next time? Because we'll be given the opportunity to fix it. The universe is going to come in with a similar situation. How are you going to respond next time?
Mm. Interesting. And there will be a next time. That's just it.
Yeah, until
You know?
you prove that you've moved past that,
Mm.
you'll be given another opportunity.
And you should acknowledge the growth.
Right. Like it's
Acknowledge.
good. It's an opportunity.
I'll be honest. I had somebody say to me recently that I'm connected to, friendship, work, a little bit here and there. And they said to me, and we started some projects, and they said, I see something here that you, meaning me, you give up easily. When things get too hard, you give up easily. And I paused and I looked at them and I said, that's extremely untrue. I said, I don't give up. What I am giving up is things that don't support me, my higher purpose, and my goals. Where a year ago and on back, I would just hang in with a situation, be it a partnership, relationship. I just keep going, it'll be better. It'll get better. 6 months go by, a year go by. It doesn't feel right, but I'm just going to write it out. Going to write it out. Not anymore, because I learned it was a waste of time. It was exactly what I thought. Was going nowhere. So in these situations, even in the last couple of months, try something for a short period of time. If it doesn't feel right and it doesn't align, not that I'm quitting. I'm just moving on from it because it's not working.
Yeah, finding what fits. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is so awesome.
Well,
Like just
thanks.
so
Like,
awesome to see it and to stand in your own power and knowing of who you are and not be swayed by someone else who is talking from their own experience that has nothing to do with you.
and part of that was this person and I were involved in some things, and I pulled back from them. And I said, you can continue this project if you want. It's all yours. Here, I started it. You can continue it. It's not working for me. And it's not, and we say higher purpose. It doesn't align with my higher purpose. It doesn't align with my goals. It's not feeling right. Why go on with it? One thing took a few months to lead up to it. In 2 weeks, I was like, that's not working. It's clear. And I'm not the only one. Others said the same thing that were involved. Like, yeah, you know what? It's time to move on from that. I think this person has a bruised ego because I moved on.
Yeah.
Only for the reason it was obvious that it's just not the way we intended it to be. So you move instead of wasting time, which I did last year on 2 projects. I'm not going to call it a waste of time. I take that back. It was a learning
You learned, it
experience.
just took longer. Yeah.
It
No,
took,
I get that. It's like, how can we move quickly, right? With all of the lessons and the things that
and
it
you know what,
had to teach us.
Shayna, you know what the lesson on that those were. I found myself being the one doing the lion's share of those projects because I'm a people pleaser. So I was like, I'll take care of that. Or it was just assumed I'm going to do the heavy lift on them. And they just didn't bear fruit after a long period of time working with others. And so, in hindsight, should have pulled the plug sooner because I was doing all the work. So now I see, now I learn.
Well, and and that's a beautiful segue into, so moving up into 5D relationships, whether it's partnership, friendship,
Mm-hmm.
work, whatever, has to be reciprocal or it's
Yeah.
not sustainable. So if it's not equal give and take in some way,
Yep.
then it's not gonna last. It's just gonna dissolve. So perfect example.
It's so true, and it's funny. The more you see these things and do this kind of work, you realize that you'd rather have less people in your life that are quality than more that don't reciprocate. And it doesn't mean that somebody always has to do. You do something for somebody, they do something for you. It doesn't have to be like that, but it has to. The energy has to feel like an equal exchange there. Otherwise, it feels off. And then why do you want to feel off? It's rather, just move
Yeah,
that to the side.
it's such a drain of energy to have all these other people that in your life, if it's not reciprocal, if it's not loving, if it's not balanced, it's just draining you.
It really is a cool thing, though, once you start realizing it and you see it for what it is. And I do, I look back and I was like, well, I looked at that situation and that was okay. Now I look back, it's like, no, that wasn't okay. That's, no, why? Don't need to align with that. My point here is there's a little bit of fog in all of us. And then once you start doing this type of work and have those realizations, the glass in front of you becomes clear. You can see right through it and take action, to move your life forward. Because some of those things might be holding you back.
Yeah, I actually had a somewhat similar realization this past week where, um, so I've had past relationships, friendship and partnerships, where I would um, stay a little bit longer, give them the benefit of the doubt
Yep.
because they deserve it. And a loving, caring person. And, you know, um, but after a while, it didn't work out, right? So move on. And I realize now their response was very um, them covering their ego, their reaction from their wounded child or victim or whatever,
Yep.
and saying that I needed to be more unconditionally loving, when in fact I was feeling that the relationship wasn't reciprocal. And now I'm like, oh, I can trust myself. That was good. My
Uh-huh.
was right on.
Yeah. And none of this is negative. It's called
Right, it's just
learning and growth.
learning. Yeah.
Same. You just brought another situation. Been friends for like 3, 4 years. Some, all good. We support. We all hang together. This person lost their job. Like a month later or two, whatever. Like checking, how you doing? You still, searching? Yeah. I said, and she showed me the position that she was looking for. I was like, well, I know I'm connected to a VP in that company. I'm going to send an email. Let me see if I can help you. Why not? So I do it. The person says, all right, I'm going to send. I'm going to kind of see if I can get that to the talent acquisition person, blah, blah, blah. And I said to text the other person that was looking for the job. I said, yeah, I sent it to them. So I'm waiting for feedback. I never got a reply from that person. Crickets, waiting. Here I am, doing something to help you out of nowhere. And then I wait a week and I'm like, yeah, didn't get a reply. Oh, I found another job. Well, thanks for sharing, but it's not the job I want. I really want the one that, I sent you. I was like, well, I already, let's see what happens. And you're welcome. Like, why did I waste my time? Lesson
Yeah.
learned.
I guess the lesson is wait, see if they reach out.
People pleaser reformed. It's kind of what it comes down
Let me
to.
get you a t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm a reformed people pleaser. Yeah, that's actually pretty funny. This is what you do. You are the mirror in some regards to show us who we are, what we're doing, and to take responsibility. And there's nothing wrong here in any of the stuff. Nothing negative here. It's a lesson. We learn lessons in life. It's kind of cool when you figure that out. How does somebody connect with you, Shayna? What is the best way?
My website has all the information at Vurusha.com, Vurusha. And then I'm also on social media, Shayna Blackmar Healing on Instagram.
I love what you do. I love your grounded, chill approach. And I can say firsthand, the session we had a few weeks ago, I was walking on a cloud for days, weeks after, and other energy comes in since then. But I find myself going back to that, almost like a home base kind of feeling since then. There's no doubt in my mind that that cleared a lot of stuff out, and that was the first. And I've had other sessions. That was the first one that included lots of different modalities, from chakras to meditation to sound and all of that. Really cool and very impactful. I thank you for that. And you've told us before, but I want to say it again, Vurusha.com. Vurusha, what does that mean again?
Yeah, it's a Sanskrit word that I found that just really resonated. And when I looked it up, it means higher consciousness. And yeah,
Got to remember that. I got to keep that in mind. Thank you for today. We will talk soon, okay?
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.